Hi, parents. So, constipation is a very real issue that we are seeing more and more of in our office today and in our society. And why is that? Why are all these kids struggling with just a basic, normal function that they should be doing every single day, which is normal, consistent bowel movements? So, this is a very real issue for about 30% of kids these days. And in my opinion, I think it's even more than that. So we are seeing more than 30% of kids struggling with that in our office, but the statistic is it is 30% of kids, which is still outrageously above what we should be seeing with these kids. And this is not something kids grow out of. So a lot of times parents will come into our office and basically tell us that, well, they're struggling with constipation. They have for many years now, but this is something their pediatrician said, well, we've tried the gut protocols, the Miralax, the prune juice, the extra fiber in their diet. We tried cutting out dairy, all these different things, but it's making just a little bit of a difference, and they're still struggling with it. So, we've done everything we can, and that's pretty much it. So I guess they're gonna have to. We'll just wait till they grow out of it now. And that is just heartbreaking to hear, honestly, because we see all the time that there is a root cause issue behind this constipation thing. So it's not just adding all these external things to try to band-aid fix the problem. We need to figure out what is going on root issue wise with these kids that are struggling with this, with constipation, with their bowel movements. So this is not something that kids grow out of. Bottom line, this is something where if it's not addressed, if the root issue is not addressed, this will turn into a bigger issue later on. It just manifests into something else. And so that inflammation that's happening as a result of that constipation, as a result of that nervous system dysfunction that I'm going to talk about later on, that turns into more struggles and issues as an adult. And that's why so many adults these days, not because of just constipation, there's a multitude of factors, but so many adults these days struggle with so many different things related to stress. And so I'm going to talk about stress today, what stress looks like in your child, and believe it or not, it's symptoms like this, like constipation, and why we're seeing this more, and how we can help these kids get through this naturally without the need for a band-aid fix or throwing all these different things at it. The answer is pretty simple, and that's something that we measure in our office every single day. So my name is Dr. Kirsten Fulong. I am a pediatric and prenatal chiropractor here at Pinnacle Chiropractic. We serve the Sarasota and Bradenton area, and we absolutely love what we do because every single day we get to work with people like you and awesome families in this area that we're just seeing these really cool things happen with these kids getting healthier, their bodies working better, and it all leads back to one common thing that I'm going to talk about, and that is stress. So the number one missing link that we see with kids, 80% of kids, I would say, that come into our office is that there is a neurologic issue going on. So a lot of these kids have very common factors that happened early on in childhood for them, sometimes even as early as when they were in mom's belly. So if mom had a stressful pregnancy, if she was under a lot of stress, she was stressed about the birth process, she wasn't all prepared for it, she just kind of went into it. It was a very traumatic birth for her. It was potentially in the hospital with an induction was used. There was many interventions that happened. Baby was put under stress immediately after baby was separated from mom. All these different things, these will happen early on for these kids and create a lot of stress early on for them as their babies. And if you've ever held a baby or met a baby or have a baby of your own, you know that these babies should be in a nice, calm, sleeping, eating, and pooping state most of the time. But unfortunately, the truth is now that a lot of these babies are really not in that parasympathetic, that rest and digest mode anymore. They're kind of stuck in this sympathetic fight or flight, colicky, latching issues, not able to breastfeed, not pooping well, not sleeping well, they're up all night. All these different things are happening when they're babies. And so we see that they are typically stressed out babies, And then it turned into that picky eating toddler that had sensory issues, behavioral issues, tantrums, all these different things. Still didn't sleep well, so still stuck in that fight or flight. And then it's leading into this constipation issue. So this is where we look at the root cause of this child's issue. We want to make sure that their nervous system is functioning as well as possible, because if your nervous system is at having any interference anywhere within it, that all the organ systems that are connected to it are going to dysfunction, essentially. So a lot of parents that come in to see us have tried all the things. They've tried probiotics. They've tried changing all these gut protocols. They've tried cutting out dairy, gluten. They've added probiotics. They've added Miralax. They've added prune juice, all the different things. And I'm sure if you're a parent that has a child that's struggling with this, you've tried this too. And sometimes it makes a little bit of a difference, but it might not always work. And we see only about 20% of the time that adding these things to it immediately resolves the issue. There's usually a more chronic issue happening that in 80% of kids, we're seeing it is a stress issue. So these kids are still struggling, even with adding the magnesium, adding the probiotics, adding the Miralax. So this is really caused by a certain thing that happened early on in life for them. And so a lot of parents aren't thinking about this when their child day to day is struggling with constipation. So after we take a detailed health history in our office, we see that one common factor, that early stress early on for these kids, we are then taking that and looking and measuring where that stress is being stored in their body. So we take non-invasive nervous system focused scans that basically measure inflammation and heat off their body along their spine to see where they're storing that stress in their body. So when we see areas where there's a lot of inflammation, a lot of stuck patterns for these kids, that is telling us that these areas are not functioning at their best, and therefore the body is going to be giving us alarm signals, symptoms that are happening to tell us that there's something off within the nervous system. And so a lot of these kids that struggle with constipation specifically usually have issues in their sacrum, in the low back area, where it controls the bowel function, the lower gut area, the digestive system, and that poop button that we talk about in our office all the time. When we are taking care of kids, we are checking this area very, very much in depth, because this is an area where once we release the stress, release the tension there, these kids are moving better, they're functioning better, they're releasing better. And oftentimes, especially with babies in our office, we warn parents that they might just poop while we're adjusting them. And that is totally normal and healthy for them to do, because their body is finally releasing that stress that it's been under for so long. And so another area we really check in these kids in our office is the upper neck area. And so if you've seen one of my previous videos, I've talked about the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is a very important nerve that controls your mood, your behavior, sensory issues. It goes down through your respiration, your lungs, and into your gut area. And that's where it can basically, if we're seeing stress in the upper neck area, we can see how that will affect the gut. And so everything is connected in your body, and we're making sure that the top of your body and the bottom of your body within the nervous system area are released and as stress-free as possible, so these kids can function at their best. So this is what we're really addressing when we're looking at the root cause function in these kids when they're struggling with things like sensory issues, behavioral issues, constipation, chronic constipation, where all these different things that parents have tried have really just not been working. And so if this rings a bell for you, if this is someone you know, if this is a child of yours that just has all these similar symptoms that I've been talking about, that they've been struggling with for a while, and I know, since you're amazing and you've tried all the things and you know that gut issues can create constipation issues, you've tried everything for this child and nothing really seems to be working, this is where I invite you to take a look at their nervous system and take them to a pediatric, neurologically focused chiropractor to see if the root of their issue is a neurogenic constipation issue, so a nervous system issue. And that is what we do here in our office. It's what we assess every single day, and we see a lot of these kids just do super well when their bodies and their nervous systems are clear. and free of that interference. And so they're able to function properly and then take in those probiotics and assimilate that food that they're eating, the clean diets that they're eating, and finally be able to handle the extra stressors that are happening in their lives. So thank you very much for listening to me today. If this rings a bell for you, please comment, like, or reach out to us, and then we can get you in touch with someone near you to help you and your child relieve this stress for you.